Welcome to the Trucker Talk Network, TTN, where we will discuss any topic or idea or questions that you have on this show. All you have to do is just email me at bigmike81672@gmail.com or just leave a message in the comments, and I do read the comments. I will get to your message and we will have a discussion with it. So, come along with the journey and let's have a little discussion today. I guess my discussion today is, we're starting to see another trend here within industry, and part of that trend in the trucking industry, uh, part of that trend that we're seeing again is all of a sudden carriers are boosting their pay scales. Woohoo! Boosting a nickel a mile. Nickel a mile is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. If you make an extra nickel a mile on 100,000 miles, it's $5,000. 150,000 miles, that's $7,500 a year extra. Pretty significant amount of change. Don't take it. I don't see it um, being that way though. You look at any of the major carriers out there and read their fine print at how they do this stuff and whatnot. It comes down to them where, yeah, we raised our mileage rate a nickel a mile. So you'll be making 65 cents a mile, but that's on the first 200 miles or a 200 mile load. And then 201 to 500 miles, it takes you down to 50 cents a mile. And, that whole gamut there. It's like a pay Ponzi scheme. Um, Now, I don't have a problem getting paid by the mileage and so forth in some aspects and whatnot because that's how the truck is paid. But that's also part of the reason why we do have a retention issue. We don't have a recruiting issue. We don't have an issue of gaining new drivers in our industry. The industry itself is its own problem. It does everything to recruit. It does nothing to retain people. You know, we're in a very undesirable situation out here as far as driving. You're working 14 hours a day plus. Yeah, you might only work 11 hours a day, but many days I can be sitting behind the wheel myself upwards of 18 hours between sitting at shippers and receivers and all this stuff, getting loaded and unloaded and blah, 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 the driving and all that stuff. Not trying to insult anybody's intelligence with that. A good portion of people know what goes on there. But when you get right down to it and whatnot, because we do have the ELDs, it does make it a lot more difficult to take care of yourself personally on the road. That's eating, physical activity, you name it. There's many different things that it makes it difficult, and also you're treated like a robot. You know, I look at the guys that work for Walmart. Yeah, they can make 100 grand a year. When their 70 hours is up, they go home. When their 34 hours is up, at 33 hours and 59 minutes, their ass better be in the car and on their way to work. Just the way it is. That's the way Walmart works it. You know, so do we necessarily have we have several different issues going on here. We have a retention issue. In other words, companies do nothing to keep drivers around. What's the incentive? Now, my boss himself, he actually does have a bonus program where, you drive so many miles a year. Whatever those miles are, you get a penny a mile bonus or 2 penny a mile bonus or whatever it may be. And then he also, as time goes on, you get more and more vacation and so forth. So those are bonuses. But we're almost at the point now when you take many states and cities and so forth putting in a $15 an hour mandate for wages and so forth. Well, if you take the 70 hours a week that a truck driver works, and let's say he does 3,000 miles in that week, and then you turn around and let's say he's making 45 cents a mile. So I'm just going to do the math here on my tablet real quick. I'm just not real fast at doing it right now, so I do apologize for that. So let's see. 3,000 miles. 40 cents a mile is $1,200, so another 5 cents a mile comes out to $1,350 a week. So you take that $1,350 and you divide that out by 70 hours, and truck driver didn't even make $20 an hour. And yet you're gone. A lot of people are just like, well, but you only work 70 hours in that week, which is true. But a lot of times that's a 5-6 day work week that you're gone. You're not home at night. You're not there sleeping in your own bed or anything like that. You are in a less than 100 cubic feet area for 5-6 days a week. Now, granted, I personally have chose to do a job like this and so forth. And yes, I have worked, I've been a convenience store manager. I've been an operations analyst for a major bank. I'm actually a computer geek by trade and so forth. Part of the reason why I do what I do is because I make better money than most when it comes to the job that I do driving and whatnot. But even at that, when you get right down to it, what's the incentive for somebody that is just turned 21 years old to come to work into trucking? There is absolutely no incentive for them to come into trucking, because they could have worked already for somebody at $15 an hour, put their time in from 18 years old to 21 years old when they're eligible to come into trucking, and be making more money than what a truck driver is making on an actual hourly wage, and yet be home every night. And the other thing that goes along, that I feel that goes along with this too, one of the few industries out there that doesn't get paid for every hour that we're out there. And when you get down to it, yes, the truck owner, when we get hung up at a ship or a receiver for whatever reason, a breakdown and whatnot, I understand the trucking company doesn't always get paid for those times at the ship or receiver or sitting at in a shop or something like that. But when a manufacturing facility goes down, those employees are paid until they send them home. And when they send them home, there's usually some type of compensation, at least in the manufacturing sector that I've worked in and so forth. And I've worked in heavy industrial and also in light industrial manufacturing. You got some type of compensation if they did send you home for those remaining hours left on that day. So, that being said, how do you make this industry more desirable? How do you make it where younger people want to get into it? The funny part is I'm 48 years old, just about 49 years old. My age group, my individual age group alone is now getting to be the young age of the industry. That's how old the trucking industry is getting to be. Pretty soon, we won't have any choice but to have autonomous trucks out there, because guys like me, we're either going to keel off or we're going to retire. You know? So there's a lot of issues with that. Another industry that I see that just amazed me. I was just in the hospital here recently, and I'm just like absolutely amazed at how young the nurses have gotten today. You know, as insignificant as that may be, and so forth, I don't think there was a single one of the nurses, the RNs that I dealt with, that was over 25 years old. That was for surgery, that was for post-op, and that was also during physical therapy, and so forth. And not that I have a problem with younger kids like that, but where did my group of ladies and gentlemen go that were in those areas? I hope they got the raises and moved forward, or did they just not go into the industry? So, you know, that we've got some huge issues overall, and part of those issues too is what the indoctrination system, i.e. the public school system, is teaching everybody. You got to have this 4-year degree to make $60,000 a year. Well, last I checked, I do quite well over $60,000 a year as a truck driver. So my cost, because I do better than that, part of my cost the cost to me is I have to spend a little more time away than somebody that went to school for 4 years and makes $70,000 a year or $60,000 a year. They might be home every day, but they still generally put in the same type of hours. When I managed my convenience store, it was nothing to be 14 to 18 hour days that I'm managing the convenience store. Just in the simple fact, when you're in those positions and so forth, just because the store is closed doesn't mean the store is closed. There's always that stuff to do. There's always those employees you got to take care of. There's always those things to do. So how do we change what's going on in trucking and many of these other industries and so forth? I don't think 18-year-old truck driver is the answer. I do agree, though, that if somebody is in the military and has been trained by the military to drive trucks and so forth, I do believe myself that they should have some type of capability going into the industry a lot sooner than other people would be, because it just makes sense to me. They've been trained, and they're trained by probably the best training corporation in this country, to put it into better words. But other than that, I'm very leery at putting anybody younger than even 21 behind the wheel of an 80,000-pound rocket going down the highway that's ready to wipe out a busload of 60. So I'd really like everybody's input on this. If you would, please subscribe and like the video and comment on the video what your ideas on this, because I'd like a real true discussion regarding what's going on here and why we're having some of these issues within some of these industries. There's many industries that we could talk about: plumbers, electricians, construction people. I mean, the welders. Shoot, look at any of Mike Rowe stuff, and not that I'm endorsing Mike Rowe and whatnot, but he's a prime example of somebody that's got the pom-poms on to get people going back to just a 2-year school to just pick up a trade. Trades is where the money's at, people. And until we change that, corporate America will never change. So again, please like and subscribe. You can email me at bigmike81672@gmail.com or leave a comment in the comments of the video. I thank you and have a good evening.